So, a YouTube channel named Tyler Byler made a video where he talked about the Michael Keaton Batman movies and how they fit in the timeline, of course, bringing the Flash into consideration. So, I decided I should do the same thing, but this time we'll be talking about the Christopher Reeve Superman films. Believe it or not, the continuity with these is even more confusing. With so many retcons, multiple times the movies will be erased, and continuity errors, making this a confusing mess that makes you wonder what is supposed to be canon and what isn't. Today, I'm going to break this all down and hopefully I'll be able to explain it as simply as possible. Let's start at the beginning. That John Williams score never gets old. First, a quick recap. This movie goes over Superman's origin story, where he was born on Krypton.
For the planet Krypton.
It's pronounced Krypton, and then sent to Earth as a baby right before the planet is blown up. He grows up with the Kent family, where the Earth's sun gives him a ton of superpowers. After his father dies, he learns of his original lineage and decides to use his powers to help the city of Metropolis from evil. He forms a romance with his co-worker, Lois Lane, and stops Lex Luthor's plan to wipe out a ton of land with missiles, and he also turns back time to save Lois from dying. So I'll say right now is that every single timeline I'm going to mention begins here. This is the only movie that doesn't get retconned in any way, so don't worry about this movie not being canon anymore, it still is. After that, we then have 3 sequels, Superman 2, Superman 3, and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. We of course see Superman lose his powers, then get them back to fight General Zod. He also fights an alternate version of himself, and Richard Pryor is there, and then he throws away every single nuclear weapon into the sun, and Luthor uses this to create Nuclear Man, and the worst fight in comic book movie history is shown. Plus, let's not forget the Supergirl spin-off movie starring Helen Slater. In the 80s, this was the main timeline that had no contradictions. We'll call this Timeline 1. So for the next 19 years, there were no contradictions. It was a simple 5-film series until 2006. In this 1 year alone, we didn't just get 1, but 2 new things added to the canon. The first of these was a new movie, Superman Returns. This movie starred Brandon Routh, who was only cast because of how well he resembled Christopher Reeve. In this movie, Superman leaves Earth for 5 years and then comes back to find Lois having married Perry White's son, who had a child together, only for him to discover that the kid is actually Superman's child, and Lex Luthor tries to create a whole new island. Director Bryan Singer has confirmed that the movie chronologically takes place after the first 2 Superman films and completely erases every other movie. The 3rd and 4th films are not canon anymore, and that most likely means Supergirl is gone too. We can easily piece this together since they made numerous references to the first movie, and we did see Clark and Lois sleep together in the 2nd film, which of course is where Jason Clarke comes in. We'll call this Timeline 2. The other thing from 2006 is the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. This version of the movie is much closer to Donner's original vision, with a more serious tone, and it's able to include all of Marlon Brando's previously deleted footage. Now, is this movie canon? Does it fit in either timeline that we previously established? Are we able to replace the theatrical cut of Superman 2 with this director's cut? I originally thought no, since we see Superman destroy the Fortress of Solitude in this version, and then we see the fortress in Returns and the 4th film. But then I remembered that in this version, we also see Superman turn back time, basically erasing the events of the film. While it's not confirmed if that also means the fortress is rebuilt, it's also very likely. I do think you can place this version into either timeline and it'll work fine. Unlike the Snyder Cut, where it clearly doesn't work in the overall series because of all the movies that have come out since. While I could just put out 2 more timelines, I'll just place both versions here on both timelines and leave it at that. Next, we have the Arrowverse crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths. This event includes a few cameos from other franchises, like Burt Ward's Robin, Kevin Conroy's Batman, and Robert Wuhl's Alexander Knox. But what we're going to focus on is this. At one point, they go to Earth 96, where we see Superman, played once again by Brandon Routh. Clark makes mention of his son Jason, which confirmed this is after the events of Superman Returns, but what I find more interesting is this line.
This is the second time I've gone nuts and fought myself.
This one line is a direct reference to Superman 3. This is a retcon of a retcon. Originally they decided that Returns only takes place after the first two films, but now we have full confirmation that the third film happened as well. I can buy that 3 is either before or after, since Lois is barely in that movie and you can just assume she's taking care of her son off screen. This definitely opens the door as for whether or not the fourth film or Supergirl are back as well. I think it's possible for Supergirl. That movie mentions that Superman is off planet.
Superman has indeed embarked on a special peace-seeking mission to a galaxy scientists estimate may be several hundred trillion light years from our own.
And in Returns, they say that Superman was off planet for 5 years, so I can buy that Supergirl is set during that 5-year time gap. As for Superman 4, it's a bit more of a stretch. It can't be before because it's heavily implied that Clark's mom died, but then she's still alive and returns. And it can't be after because there is no mention of Lois having a husband or a son in Quest for Peace. So assuming you're keeping track, we have now changed timeline 2. It includes the first 3 films, Supergirl, and a crossover with the Arrowverse. In 2021, things get even weirder. A limited comic book series written by Robert Venditti titled Superman 78 was published. These comics are confirmed to take place within the same universe as the Donner films, but just like Superman Returns, they only take the first 2 movies into account. Yep, so we have yet another timeline to consider. We'll call this timeline
3.
The story goes, Brainiac arrives to shrink Metropolis, but when he finds out about Superman and now he is Kryptonian, he only threatens to if Superman doesn't follow his demands. He of course surrenders and is shrunk inside a bottle that includes the last of Krypton, where his biological parents are still alive inside. Eventually they figure out how to bring Clark back to normal size, and he defeats Brainiac and vows to find a way to rescue his parents and everyone inside Kandor. So yeah, this is apparently something that happened too. And finally, we come to the most recent example with The Flash. Since barely anybody saw it, I'll recap. Barry Allen, aka The Flash, attempts to travel back in time to save his mother. While he succeeds, he also creates a branch timeline where most of the Justice League is gone, Batman is now Michael Keaton, and General Zod has no one to stop him from transforming Earth into Krypton except Supergirl, who is here, but even then Zod wins. Barry and the younger Barry in this timeline try everything they can to make sure Supergirl doesn't die and that they're able to stop Zod, but they can't, and of course must accept that their mother is in fact dead and there's nothing they can do about it. Before this acceptance, when they try to keep this timeline alive, the multiverse collapses in on itself. We see George Reeves' version of Superman, Adam West's Batman, Nicolas Cage's version of Superman, and of course, one of those universes has Christopher Reeve's Superman, as well as Helen Slater's Supergirl. Now, I'll be honest, I hate this scene, since Christopher Reeve died in 2004 and they still decided to digitally recreate his face here instead of just getting Brandon Ruth back one more time. But the one thing I do like about this scene is that this is the first time we see these two characters together, even if it's fake looking. Now, putting my opinion aside, this is another example of the multiverse including this version of the character. Now, how does this fit in any of the previous timelines? Well, it's actually easier than you might think. Going back to the Arrowverse, we did see Ezra Miller's Flash cameo at one point, so this already confirms that the DCEU and Donner Superman films exist within the same universe. So I feel pretty comfortable placing this in Timeline 2. My best guess is probably before the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but after Returns. Man, I really hope this wasn't too confusing for you guys. I'll admit, I had a bit of a headache trying to put all this together, so let's go through it one more time. Timeline 1 consists of Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and Supergirl's in there somewhere. Timeline 2 consists of Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, Supergirl, Superman Returns, The Flash, and Crisis on Infinite Earths. Timeline 3 consists of Superman, Superman 2, and a Superman 78 comic book series. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if there's anything I missed, and I'll see you next time.